I'm Barley Jonathan, and this is the weekend edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television, live from my headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. In our top stories in this edition of the news, a woman is beaten to near death allegedly by her husband here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. It is one of the worst cases of gender-based violence recorded in the country in recent times, and in the crisis-stricken northwest and southwest regions of the country, at least 40 cases of gender-based violence, violation and abuse of the rights of women and girls have been recorded in the month of June alone, according to figures of the United Nations organization. And we shall also talk about the deplorable state of roads in Kambe, Donga Mountain Division, northwest region of Cameroon. Stay with us. And we begin this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinoxe television with this shocking and heartbreaking story of a young woman almost beaten to death allegedly by her husband here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. It is one of the most horrible, horrible cases of gender-based violence recorded in the country in the past few days. Details in this report.
Physically tortured and emotionally fragilized, Bezele Germaine Karin, mother of one, has experienced domestic violence for over 10 years. From 44-year Amang Akodio Diodene, alias Masandie, whom she thought would make a good husband. Persisting in an unhealthy relationship just to keep the man and have a better shelter for herself and son, Germaine ended up in the hospital. Her condition forces her back to her family home at Ngonsua neighborhood of the Douala 2 municipality. He used a colasse here and there. He also used his shoes to beat me on my face. Then I collapsed due to the severe beatings. I am feeling pains here on my back. Now my ribs are broken. Germaine's son almost lost his life after seeing his mother's condition. Friday I experienced a shock through which I almost lost my life. My mother was not home. She came in on Saturday and spent the day with me and left in the evening for a wedding. Around 2 a.m. she came in this condition, all beaten with wounds all over her body. There is little or no consideration from Akodio Diedone towards his to-be in-laws as he exercised ugly behavior even in their midst. He said he did not beat his wife, whereas she confessed to us that the man used a machete on her. He then broke a bottle and wanted to stab my husband when he escaped. Bezele Germaine spends all her night on this armchair, crying for help as her family struggles to contribute money for her treatment. Meanwhile, investigations are ongoing to get Masandie, who is on the run.
Gender-based violence has been on the rise in many African countries, especially the crisis-stricken nations, including Cameroon, and in the crisis-hit northwest and southwest regions of the country. The United Nations organization indicates that at least 40 cases of gender-based violence have been recorded in the northwest and southwest regions in the month of June alone, and this is why the organization, notably the United Nations Development Program, in collaboration with the Women's Empowerment and Promotion of the Family Ministry of the Republic of Cameroon, brought together a handful of women leaders, gender right activists and journalists here in Douala to discuss on how to better engage this fight against these ills in our society, especially in the crisis-stricken regions of the country.
The youth dictate the pace of events when it comes to physical resistance in every society. In the Anglophone regions, for instance, the close to 5 years armed conflict is a testimony. It is no secret that the separatist fighters generating disturbing nightmare on anything they consider their enemy are the youth. The youth are swift and with a lot of energy, and to better contain what is considered as wayward youth, experts say it should not be done through violent confrontation, but rather what needs to be done is to gently confront the minds of these youth. And the National Civic Service Agency for Participation in Development, a program under the Cameroon Ministry of Youth Affairs and Civic Education, hold that the annual training of conscripts is a step to achieve such goals, among others.
We have tried to inculcate the patriotic, moral and civic values.
And this is the 2021 batch of the Southwest region, 100 in number, and Gembane Daniel Ekule, the Inspector General at the Southwest Governor's Office, is chairing the closing ceremony here in Tiku Subdivision.
We shall be expected to act as ambassadors, especially at this time when our region is faced with security problems.
It is expected, therefore, that these conscripts will go and serve as good ambassadors of solidarity and national integration in their various communities.
That was rather Derek Jato reporting there from the Southwest Regional Chieftain Boya, the Inspector General at the Southwest Governor's Office, who was challenged the 2021 batch of conscripts to be ambassadors of peace in a region hit by security tensions. Now we come back to this report on gender-based violence, the violation and abuse of the rights of women and young girls, especially in the crisis-stricken regions of the country, in the northwest, in the southwest, but also in the far north region of the country. And I said earlier that the UN indicates that for the month of June 2021 alone, at least 40 cases of gender-based violence were reported in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. And the United Nations Development Program, in collaboration with the Ministry of Women's Empowerment and the Family, brought together civil society leaders, notably female rights activists and some journalists here in the country's economic capital, Douala, to discuss these issues and to better strategize on the fight against these issues in our society. Innocent has a report.
Women, known to be special by their nature, continue to face violence and multiple abuses in conflict zones like in the two Anglophone regions, far north and east regions of Cameroon, where they are either raped, kidnapped, tortured or gruesomely killed.
The rate is high. We've got that more than 4,000 cases were reported only for the month of June in the northwest and southwest.
The United Nations Development Program groups journalists, civil society actors and women to project and denounce this gender-based violence.
The stakeholders and even government officials understand that there is a need for some punishment, to be implemented on people who perpetrate violence against women.
It's going to help media persons, it's going to help young women and even girls at the grassroots to take informed decisions when it comes to reporting cases. When there is an abuse or violations, we can be able to know which particular institutions we can report acts of violations and abuse.
Referral institutions like that set up by the UNDP is believed will document a series of violence and rights abuses women face, with solutions provided.
It's a means of knowing what is going on and formulating a solution. What we see is that it will provide a comprehensive visualization of HR and GBV, and from there we know what kind of action to take.
The government of Cameroon, through the Ministry of Women Empowerment and the Family, is expected to facilitate actors of the stakeholders in eradicating gender-based violence in the country, especially in conflict-hit areas.
Statistics show that 49 primary schools have remained closed in Kambe, Dongamantum Division, Northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon because of the socio-political and security tensions. Only 26 out of 38 nursery schools that existed before the crisis started late 2016 are now functioning, and the statistics were reviewed by educational stakeholders as they prepare for the next academic year. For me, Armstrong Sander has more.
With an enrollment of 756 pupils.
Statistics from the basic educational officials say Kambe Central Subdivision had a total of 121 primary schools before the start of the Anglophone crisis, and as of last academic year 2020-2021, 72 are functional. In the nursery sector, the subdivision counted 38 before the crisis and 26 as of last year 2020-2021.
Then those that were functioning, we have 72 with 246 teachers.
Though top in the Northwest region, administrative and educational stakeholders in Kambe say they want 100%, with all 121 primary schools opened for the 2021-2022 academic year.
Effective school resumption in the entire Kambe subdivision, with all schools operating in their rightful premises, all teachers effectively on their duty post, and every child of school going age in school.
This goal was the focus of a broad-based meeting organized by the divisional officer from Kambe Central Subdivision, Mr. Ngida Lawrence Chair, at the Kambe Community Hall.
Everything has been put in place so that this year goes better or ends up better than last academic year. And in addition to our back to school objectives, we shall dwell so much more this year on the aspect of moral and discipline.
Grouping traditional, religious and opinion leaders, the Chief Administrative Officer, Ngida Lawrence, challenged them to take the sensitization message to their various groups and villages.
Basketball Lions of the Republic of Cameroon were beaten today by the Silverbacks of Uganda in the ongoing Afrobasket Championship, and they were beaten 8 points to 6. Smanjik and Gabriel has more.
Led Cameroon 17-11. At halftime, Uganda had an upper hand, 44-33 points against the Basketball Lions. It lost in their first match against Senegal 53-93, picked up their first win of the Afrobasket tournament, beating Cameroon 80-66 points.
Yeah, it was a tough game, but that's exactly what we envisioned, it was tough, when we were down a little bit. We gave them some runs, and gladly everybody stayed composed, and we were able to stay on top and finish the game. Right now, I'm just looking forward to get some rest, get some practice tomorrow, and get ready for the next game.
Cameroon's next game will be against Senegal in an all-lion encounter.
And that is it for the first part of this newscast. Talking Point is up next. Our guest today, Barrister Tamfu Richard, is a human rights lawyer, member of the Cameroon and Nigerian Bar Associations. Barrister, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Babila. It's always a pleasure to have been here.
Your reaction as a human rights lawyer, a right defender, to this case of a woman physically assaulted allegedly by her husband, by the man with which she has been living for about 10 years today, and she says that this has been going on for the past 10 years, and she was assaulted to almost near death.
Yes, the images are very shocking. When you think to believe that some human beings are still barbaric in this manner, they forget to know that people have the right to their lives, and when you deliberately decide to inflict such a harm on a human being like you, no reason can justify such inhumane treatment. No matter the differences that the couple may have, there are other avenues whereby maybe the husband could use than to assault his wife in such a cruel way. For example, somebody like me who is a human rights lawyer, this kind of cases I won't play with. I will make sure that the person faces the law, and that the heavy arm of justice should weigh on him, because such act should not be tolerated. It should be, if I am handling such a case, I will make sure that the person learns that he doesn't have the right to behave like that, and that he should never behave like that to another person.
And that's where there's a problem being raised by human rights defenders, women, activists or female activists defending the rights of women and children, who think that the culprits or the perpetrators are not adequately punished, are often not adequately punished, and so the crime continues.
Yes, we know there are gender violences, especially the women. People always think that they are the weaker arm, forgetting to know that we are equal before the laws, and we should be able to respect gender equality. It's not because it's a woman that you think that you, the man, you have the powers on her to maybe assault her. No, we should continue to advocate for women's rights, especially when they are faced with such violence. You know, women are always very fragile. Even physically, the man will always think that he is more powerful than the woman. But it's nothing explains, be it coming from the woman or coming from the man, nothing will explain such an attitude coming from the man. So we should continue to protect gender equality, continue to advocate for gender equality, and make sure that women or people or human rights groups or human rights defenders should always stand strong when they are faced with this kind of cases, to make sure that they reiterate the place of the woman in the society.
You're one of the lawyers of the Cameroon Bar Association, crying out loud and raising concerns over what you consider as illegality at the helm of the association. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, we are passing an institutional loophole whereby we think, some of us who are having the interest of the bar at heart, think that it's high time that we respect our legislation, because we are at this point in time we are passing an interim period, which if we are not awake, it may last for long, because the mandate of those who are having the leadership now their mandate have expired since 24th November 2020, and for this period they are, we can say, practically exercising without the mandate of advocates of the Cameroon Bar. So some of us who are very attentive to the application of the law decided that it was high time to make this petition call, so that advocates should take their responsibilities, and it's done strictly in line with the provisions organizing practice at the bar and our internal rules and regulations. So nothing is done in an illegal way. We are all lawyers, and every day we are before the courts to make sure that the law is being respected. So we see no reason why we, the lawyers, should not be advocating so that our own laws should be respected by us. So that's the reason, the sole reason behind this petition that was made.
Things have been a little bit unstable in the Cameroon Bar Association since the death of the former Bar Council president, and there were issues. His burial took longer than initially previewed, and are these not issues that can explain why the interim leaders stayed there more than the time stated in the internal rules and regulations of the bar?
No, it can't be the only excuse. We know that yes, it at least it created something that someone can call a force majeure, because he was buried in March 2021. But since March 2021, we had a period of May, according to our internal rules, that the General Assembly could be convened, but for reasons, not for reasons, I can call it fallacious reasons, being put to place, it wasn't convened, and we are still coming to another period, which is November, where the General Assembly should be convened. So we are strongly advocating that this period should not come and pass again before our eyes without us doing something. So the law is clear on it. The law tells you who are the people who can convene the General Assembly. Absolute majority of lawyers, the Minister of Justice, the Bar Council members, or the President of the General Assembly. So we are closely observing what is happening, and we are taking our responsibility, because we will not want to continue condoning illegality, because that's how I'll put it.
In recent times, the Bar Council or the Cameroon Bar Association has been standing out tall, speaking on some issues happening in the country. When you find yourself in such a situation, is there an impact on what the bar is supposed to be doing with regards to its responsibility vis-a-vis the people, vis-a-vis Cameroonians, and issues happening within the national territory? Does it affect the capacity of the bar to speak out on issues of national interest?
Yes, such loopholes on the leadership will obviously affect, because people now have the feeling on daily basis that lawyers are becoming helpless. You know, when a citizen is faced with difficulties, has difficulties with the justice system, his first recourse is to seek the services of a lawyer. And when he calls a lawyer to help him, most of the time the lawyer is being treated in a difficult way, assaulted, at times even beaten and sent to prison. So it fragilizes the society, because the society believes that the lawyer is becoming helpless. So that is the more reason why we need a leadership or a strong bar, so that each time when the societal rights are being violated, when there is violation on any political right or any societal right, the bar should be able to stand strong and give its own position. The bar should be like the watchdog of the society, and also the bar should be able to facilitate the exercise of advocates, because advocates needs to exercise their functions according to the law, and it is not when you don't have a strong bar that can stand up whenever a lawyer is in difficulty, is being felt by the society. So what is happening now also has an effect on the civil society, because when the bar is weak, the civil society suffers. So that is why we are advocating that the organs that are now should be renewed, so that those who have the legitimate mandates of all advocates should be able to carry on with the activity and make sure that the society feels it. Because when the society has the belief that lawyers are becoming helpless, it's a problem. And I'm not the one who is saying it. You can go out there and find out for yourself, whereby lawyers on daily basis complain to me that they are not able to rescue their clients. Can you imagine that some clients, somebody can be kept in one of the cells for more than 20 days without no legal provisions, and you, the lawyer, you are unable to assist or even defend such a client? How do you think that citizen thinks of lawyers? He feels that lawyers are helpless. So we need a leadership that is strong. We need a bar that is strong, so that the executive will not have the power to continue perpetrating abuses on citizens' rights.
Violating the rights of citizens, and it should be recalled that human rights violations have been on the rise in the Republic of Cameroon. Civil and political rights violated here and there, and the bar has been quite silent for some time now.
Yes, we see how even the Anglophone crisis, whereby a lot of human rights violations have been observed, and it was high time that the bar could come out and speak to the government that no, even in a conflict zone, there are some principles that have to be respected. But when the bar is silent to some societal issues, it is a call for concern.
Right, Barrister Tanfu Richard, human rights lawyer, member of the Cameroon Bar Association and also the Nigerian Bar Association. Thank you for your time.
The pleasure is all mine.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinoxe Television. Coming up next, live from the nation's political capital, La Presse. It's a dispute.